Hi, Matt. It's your mother. Just wanted to wish Cidiot a happy birthday. I don't have a favorite episode because I love them all. One wish I have, though, is for you to slow down. Sometimes you talk too fast. What's the big rush? Anyway, keep them coming. I'm your biggest fan. Love ya.
Down in the valley, moved up from the city. It's a new way of living and I'm trying to get used to it. 1 park coolers, half an ounce of an idiot. Ordered a Manhattan and they call me a Cidiot. At first I hurt my feelings, but it's kinda got a ring to it. When you move to the country, they can tell when you're new to it. I'm looking at a place, but I'm trying to keep fitting in. It takes too long to be a local, so for now I'm a Cidiot.
I'm Matt Zucker, and this is Cidiot, learning to live and love life in the Hudson Valley. Episode 73. I'm 4. Well, I'm 52 plus, but this show is 4. I like celebrating, and as you could hear from my mom's birthday wish, I've asked some people to join me. So you'll hear some voices throughout this episode, as well as some reflections and accomplishments. Kind of a state of the Cidiot. When I started Cidiot in July 2018, I meant to do a blog about what it felt like to move somewhere new and what it was like to own a house and live in a more rural place than the concrete jungle of Chelsea, Manhattan. First, the word. There was kind of a backlash about the word to some degree. People called Cidiots in their driveway or on the road don't like it, and more than a handful have told me so. But you've also heard me talk about how the word is about the naivete of being new, not the jerk part of being new. I'm kind of trying to take it back. As you heard in episode 52, Pim Zeggers of the Cidiot store in Catskill agreed with me. I started the show recording in our backyard at the picnic table. It was charming as an idea, but for audio quality, I don't think it was such a good idea. You could probably hear the difference between early and later episodes when I got my act together for audio. And since those early episodes in July 2018, probably like for you, a lot has happened in life. First, I published my advertising career memoir. This helped me get to know booksellers in town and the folks at WKZE, where I rented an office for a short time. I got promoted on my job, which was cool. Brian got his master's in food and nutrition. Nieces and nephews have graduated from various middle schools, high schools, and colleges, started to look at colleges, started med school, gotten their first jobs. We didn't get COVID, and no shortage of bad news. My father passed away. We sensed a big uptick in crime and hate. The world is a mess. Millions of other people got and lost in COVID. I kept producing the show, focusing on things I could control, things that caught my eye. Animals, farms, hiking, people. Folks usually ask how many people listen to the show. Now, in podcast world, it's not really about size, especially since so many shows are so specialized. But the truth is, Cidiot is a decent-sized show. 45,000 downloads to date. If I average all the episodes, the average number of listeners is 670, with about 450 listeners in the first 90 days of any episode. And it's still growing, including the back library. According to many stats and benchmarks, this makes Cidiot among the top 20% of listened shows in America. Really? For me, the show is also fun since I've met a lot of people through it. Business owners, organizations, politicians, other podcasters, bloggers, and listeners. Brian and I have made some friends through this show and or because of it. Mark and Lori Mendelis we've gotten to know really well. Mark and I both work on the creative side of marketing, so we had that in common anyway. Mark sent in a message and included his favorite episode, a fairly recent one.
Hey, Matt, it's Mark Mendelis. I just wanted to wish Cidiot a very happy birthday. As far as favorite episode, it was episode 70, Toastmasters Teach, for a few reasons. I found it interesting and unexpected. I definitely learned some things. And I think maybe most of all that it reflects your commitment to keep making the podcast better, even though it is pretty damn good, just as it is. Happy birthday, Cidiot. Now blow out those candles.
Aw, thanks, Mark. The show has really hit a nerve since it took off. What it feels like to move somewhere new. what it feels like to move from a big city like New York to a more rural life like we have in the Hudson Valley, Catskills, and Berkshires. This is from Katie, who I know from years and years ago at Ogilvy, who runs Cheyenne Design Studio.
Hi, Matt. Happy fourth birthday to Cidiot. I've been listening to Cidiot since I myself moved out of Brooklyn up to the Hudson Valley during COVID and couldn't help but feel like a lot of the same experiences and feelings that you talk about on the show really resonated with me at the time and still do. I'm still learning how to garden, learning how to live up here and get out of the city life. So please keep sharing your stories. They're wonderfully told and amazing. And congrats on doing this for 4 years.
Hearing that my experiences are like other people's experiences is both validating and reassuring. Moving somewhere new can be a community experience. There's that Facebook group, Into the Unknown, that's gotten really huge ever since its write up in the New York Times. And the Hudson Valley and Catskills, well, there's a whole character of this place, even as diverse as it is. It made me want to capture it all into a single piece, so you saw that with El Sueco and the Don at Space Studios, we created a standalone single about it. We had so much fun with that, we released it as an animated video, which you can find at the website and on YouTube. Creating the song is the most fun I've had since starting the show 4 years ago. Money also comes up a lot. How much does it cost to produce? Do I make money? Or more likely, how much do I lose on it? Well, the show hasn't exactly made much money, but I've become far more disciplined and more ambitious investing in it. I wrote a marketing plan for the show last year, which has really paid off. Specific goals like size of audience, new channels, profit and loss, where and how to market. It included going on other shows, like I did with my friend Allison, who hosts Talk to Allison on Radio Free Rhinecliff. Here's her message.
Hey, Cidiot, happy birthday. This is Allison Chawla over in Rhinebeck, New York. I am such a huge fan of the show, as you know, and I am so incredibly honored that I was able to be a guest this year. I hope you keep coming on out with fantastic episodes, and I tell you right now, I will definitely be a loyal listener.
Thanks, Allison. And by the way, now her show is a podcast. Every month or so, I'll get an email from a listener, not just saying hi and that they like the show, which is great, you know, but often thanking me for a specific piece of advice that was in an episode, like how to make friends, how to choose a town, or why to invest in a generator if you can make it. One I can't forget is from listener Ann P. about coming up with friends and they needed a place to eat dinner for her birthday and were stuck on the highway binging on Cidiot and heard me rave about the restaurant Ciabatta in Tivoli. So they went there and said they had the best dinner ever and then ice cream afterwards at Fortune's a few doors down. This made me so happy and totally went to my head. Am I a tour guide? Is Cidiot a travel resource? Am I AAA for Hudson Valley newcomers? Of course I walked right into Ciabatta and told Michelle who owns it. I'm sure you know how good it feels to help others with what you know, even if it's not a lot. In May, I was excited to help do that Podcasting 101 workshop with Hillsdale Workshop Experience, and now and then people ask for help in different ways. When we were in Florida in January, my brother-in-law's brother-in-law, Irwin, mentioned he was thinking of doing a show about the gardens and history of East Hampton, where he lives most of the year. Kind of a behind the scenes of a town famous for other things, but with gorgeous history and architecture. He asked some advice about how to get the show off the ground, and very quickly he launched a podcast which has been a hit from day one. His message is very generous.
Hi, this is Irwin from East Hampton. Happy 4th birthday to Cidiot. So Matt is my brother-in-law's brother-in-law, which means technically he's not family, even though it feels like he is. Now, Cidiot, it's a fantastic podcast, and Matt, what can you say? It's professional grade. He's an unbelievable podcaster. But if you're a Cidiot listener, you know that already. What's most impressive, though, about Matt, and this is what I'd like his audience to know, is how generous of spirit he is. He was my mentor in starting my own podcast almost 2 months ago. Granted, I'm tempted to shamelessly plug said podcast here to Cidiot's impressive audience. But since I'm often accused of being Larry David-esque, that means no filter. I'm going to take the high road and will refrain and merely again state how big a fan I am of Cidiot and Matt. So happy 4th birthday, Cidiot. You are the gold standard, and so is the host.
That was great of Irwin. His show, by the way, is called Our Hamptons, which you can find nearly anywhere you listen to podcasts. Irwin said gold standard, which is very, very generous, especially since you know me as someone that shoots for silver. But the show has gotten some accolades. Winning the 2021 Chronogrammy for Regional Podcast and then getting runner-up this year is just great. Thank you all who voted. And if you thought of voting but didn't and feel bad about runner-up, well, don't worry. We'll try again next year. The fun thing is, I've already been in touch with the winner and the other runner-up, so expect to enjoy more from them in the future. Very excited to make friends in this exclusive club. Cidiot also got a Communicator Award for Excellence in Society and Culture podcast, which was a hoot since it's an award show I used to enter for radio commercials. And the press. You know I love the press. There's a page on Cidiot.com where you can see all the links, quotes, and bylines. One of 6 Hudson Valley podcasts you ought to listen to, said Chronogram at the very beginning. One of 8 Hudson Valley podcasts for all-day listening, said Hudson Valley Magazine. Cluelessly charming, the Albany Times-Union, about the Cidiot anthem when it came out. And as a voice for the people moving upstate, was even featured on NBC Today's website and in Country Living magazine, alongside much bigger personalities. Now, not all fans are local, which is great since I think part of the show is to get people up here, whether they're moving up here full-time, becoming weekenders, you know, the good ones, or just visiting. I think I'm good for the Hudson Valley brand. This is from my good friend Adam in Baltimore, who I went to summer camp with as a kid, went to college with, and then we also lived in New York together. If you read that piece in Shout Out Arizona, they asked me, if my best friend visited, where would I take him? So I wrote about Adam coming to visit, which I think was an effective guilt trip.
Matt, happy birthday. Happy 4th birthday to Cidiot. It's Adam who needs to come and visit. I just love hearing everything about the Hudson Valley and the joy that your life has brought up there. So I wish you nothing but success and to have a great 5th year going forward and many more as you introduce all of us to life in the Hudson River Valley.
It's all about building on what works. And for that, I can look at the stats. 60% of Cidiot listeners hear the show through Apple, but Spotify is cutting in on the lead. And there's also Google Podcasts, Overcast, Castbox, Stitcher, and others. The geography analytics are fascinating to me. 95% of listeners are US, of course, which makes sense, and about 70% of those are in New York State. About 8% are listening from California. I think those are my work colleagues. Hello. And 6% from New Jersey, which is probably my mother, my brother, and his family, and Aunt Marcia. 2% in Massachusetts, and in Florida. Must be that Floridian episode. Within New York State, though, things get really colorful. About a third are from New York City boroughs, either weekenders or people fantasizing about moving to the country. The other 2/3 are upstate, across the Hudson Valley, Catskills, and Capital Region. What do people want? To do this, I've done 2 listener surveys, one last January and one in July. When asked what people want to hear more about, more than 50% chose food and drink, places and towns, local businesses and organizations, and more than 40% of those that answered chose voices and people, farm and animals, and activities and events. I hope you'll answer these surveys when you see them, because I'm so desperate for opinions, and I try to make the polls easy to answer. The format of the show, I'm both settled on, and I keep futzing with. The body of the show hasn't changed much, and I like that. A dramatic opening, then the core, sometimes with a few breaks or commercials, and then the big wrap-up. But within that, I'm sure you've heard some adjustments. Early episodes were straight narrative ramblings. Then I went hard into interviews. More recently, I've tried to balance the two, so there's a mix, which I hope you like. Sponsorships have grown up from an experiment to more of a program view. I found the best way to do it isn't just a simple ad or shout out for the sponsor, but to do some kind of what we call integrated content. Really focus on something interesting for listeners, and if possible, surrounded by some related content on the blog, a cool download, or a special offer for you. If you know of a sponsor, please send them my way. I'm looking for more for the rest of this season, and especially for next season. You'll remember that I introduced merch. T-shirts, sweatshirts, notebooks, travel mugs, and more using a few different vendors. The t-shirts sold pretty well at first, and notebooks have made a good giveaway. The best seller, though, are the Cidiot trucker caps with the baby goat icon. I don't make much money on the merchandise, frankly. In fact, I think I lose money on it since I overinvested in inventory the first year. But it's really advertising for the show, and I love when people send me photos of them wearing t-shirts and caps out in the world. Cidiots in the wild. 60% of the latest survey respondents asked for more on local towns and places. So I'm planning on doing more with that. Maybe suggested itineraries for visitors and locals, and if you have places you want me to feature, just let me know. Ideally, they pair with an episode like Saratoga and Newburgh did, but they don't have to. The email list is also new as of late last winter. It's become important as a way to reach people and provide deals or insider info. If you really want to give the show a birthday gift, go to Cidiot.com and add your email to subscribe. And if you've already subscribed, can you check your spam folder? I seem to get 60% open rate on monthly emails, and I wonder how many people really get it but don't know they get it. The last thing is really about Cidiot in the community. Being up here, but out there. A few years ago, I did stand-up storytelling as part of the Porch Storytelling Night, and with Historic Red Hook, I celebrated Hardscrabble Day. And then, for about 6 months, I had an advice column in the Red Hook Daily Catch, our local paper. Then there was the Podcasting 101 workshop I mentioned, and last month, I spoke at the local Rotary Club, which is an amazing service organization. It made me really reflect on what kind of service I'm creating for the community. At the heart of what I can possibly offer, at least so far, is the show itself, the episode themes and topics. There's really no shortage of them. More towns, more people, more festivals, more businesses, more quirky bits of history, more learning experiences for me and Brian along the way. If I can make you smile, if I can help you think, if I can share something new that makes you happy now or later, well, that's something. This is a magical place. 4 years. Thank you so much for listening. Come visit.
Down in the valley, moved up from the city. It's a new way of living and I'm trying to get used to it. 1 pot noodles, half an ounce of an idiot. Ordered a Manhattan and they call me a Cidiot. At first I hurt my feelings, but it's kinda got a ring to it. When you move to the country, they can tell when you're new to it. I'm looking at a place, but I'm trying to keep fitting in. It takes too long to be a local, so for now I'm a Cidiot.
Upstate and chill.